Hello there. In this particular video, we are going to be creating a new application using the Flask. So basically, we are going to be creating a to-do list app using which we can create different to-do lists, and we can also do the CRUD operation on that. So basically, we can create a to-do list, we can update it, delete it, and do different operations on that particular thing. So let's get started with it. So right here, we have our previous app that we have created, and inside our HTML file we have this particular code that we have written previously. So for that, first of all, we need to open our browser and we will just search for Bootstrap, and over here we will just open this first website and we will just try to click on get started over here, and we are going to be creating a form first to take the input from the user. That will be the title of that to do and also description of that to do list. So for that, we will just hover over this forms and we will click on the overview from this forms, and we will just copy this first form that we have for getting the email address and password, and we are going to be making some changes into it. So if we just go back to our index.html file, after this you can see we have a search box. Here is our nav bar. After the nav bar, we are going to be pasting this particular piece of code. We will save the code, and if we just try to run our server, so if I just try to open this website, so over here you can see there is the output that we get. It has added this particular form inside our HTML file. So you can see we also need to change the title, and we want this thing inside a container, so it is taking the entire page. We want this to be inside a container. So for that, what we can do is can just make some changes in here. So I'll just close this terminal, and I'm first of all going to be replacing the title to do list app, and after that we are going to be making some changes inside this particular thing. So over here you can see div class. So for this thing we are going to be adding some changes into this form. So first of all, we are going to be creating another div. So I will add a div container class container my-3. So it will create a container. Inside that we are going to be having this particular uh, code for this form, and we're going to be closing this form after we are submitting this form. So we'll just close this div, and after that if we save the code and try to go inside our server, refresh the page, so now you can see it is now inside a container and we are getting a proper format in the output. So I think we have removed the checkbox. So why it is showing that over there? So there is a checkbox. I just need to remove this particular thing from here, and we will go back, just refresh the page. Now you can see this thing is being removed. After that, we are going to be changing some things over here. So we are going to be adding to do title, and over here we are going to be replacing it to text. So the type of the input will be text. This is also going to be text, and okay, we want this thing to say add the title for the to do list, and after that we are going to be also changing this password field. So it is going to be to do description, and we're going to be setting it to text. Type will be also text. ID will be description, DEC. desc will be its id, and we are also going to be changing this id to title. After that, we will just try to save this thing, and if we go back into our browser and refresh this page, now you can see here is the updated things that we have added. So we have to do title, add the title for the to-do list, and we have to-do list description, and whenever we add some data to it, so it will submit the data to our app, and after that it will save it. So right now we have not added that particular functionality, but now we are just working on the front end of our website. So once we are done with this, we are going to be also adding a table over here. So I will just open the browser, and in here we're going to be searching for table. So in the search we will type table, we'll hit enter, and it should give us this output for a table. So this is how a table is being created. So this is the code that we can use to create a table. So we will just minimize this, and inside another container we are going to be adding that thing. So we'll create a div class container my-3, and inside this we're going to be pasting this particular code that we have copied to add a table. And if we just go back into our to-do list app, we refresh this, so you can see here is the output that we get. So right here we have some name and things like that. We don't want that. Instead of that, we are going to be replacing this rows to something else. So this will be the serial number of our to-do list or the to-do task that we have. This will be the title. The third column will be the description, and the last one will be the time at which we have added that particular task in our to-do list. So we are going to be adding all these things in that. So after that, we have some random data in here. So if we just try to save this, we open our browser, refresh this thing. So now you can see we have the serial number, title, description, and time. So I will just minimize this thing, and I think we should remove this raw data from here, or we will handle this data later on. So after that, I think we are done with our front end of our website. So we just want to add the title for this to-do list, and we are also going to be adding the description, and after that clicking on submit, it should add it into our to-do list, and we are going to be getting this data at the first serial number that we have added over here. It should also tell us the time, title, and description. So once we are done with that, we're going to be creating a database in which we're going to be storing our to-do list, title, description, and time, and things like that. So for creating a database in Flask, we need to use a package named SQL Alchemy. So for that, we're going to be searching Flask SQL Alchemy on the browser, and we will get this first result that says Flask SQL Alchemy. And if we click on it, you can see that it helps us to map the data that is relational data with so basically the Flask SQL Alchemy will help us to map the data which is relational data with each other, and it will find out the patterns and objects. So basically it's going to be creating a database for us which is going to be a relational database. So after coming to this page, we will click on quick start, and to get started with it, we just need to provide this command to install it onto our system. So we will just copy this command on our VS Code, and we are going to be just pasting this command, and you can see that we have already inside our virtual env, so it will automatically install it inside our virtual env. We will hit enter, so it will start downloading it onto our system, and it will be installing it inside our virtual environment. So once we are done with this, we will just close this, and we're going to be importing it. So we will do from Flask SQL Alchemy import SQL Alchemy, and after that we will just go back to the browser, and over here we can see how we can create a database. So we need to configure the SQLite database relative to the app instance folder. So here is how we can create a SQLite database. So there are different types of database that we can create. So right now we are going to be creating a SQLite database. So for that, I will just copy this particular command from here, and we're going to be adding that inside our app. So after the Flask app is created, we're going to be pasting this particular command over here. And after that, we are going to be doing db equals to SQL alchemy, and inside that we're going to be passing the app. So using this command, it will create a SQLite database for us. So we are going to be naming the database as todo.db, and after that we are going to be adding the fields that we want to add inside this database. So basically we have just created the database, but there are no fields in it. So we want to add around 4 fields inside our database. The first one will be to do title, to do description. After that, we are also going to be adding the serial number and a timestamp at which we have added this particular to do task. So we will go back here, and we're going to be creating a class over here. So we will do class that will be to do, and inside that we're going to be doing db dot model. So this is the format to create a table inside this SQLite database. So basically we are going to be creating these different fields in this. So first one will be serial number. So the first field will be serial number. We will do db dot column, and inside that we're going to be doing db dot integer. So we are going to be providing which type of data we are going to be adding inside that. So basically the serial number will be in the form of integer. So we will type here integer. We will add a comma, and we are going to be setting it to as primary key. Primary underscore key is equals to true. And after that, we're going to be just copying this particular thing from here. We're going to be adding it 4 times around, and we're going to be just changing the name. So the second one will be title, and db dot column, db dot, it's going to be a string. So we will just set it to string, and we are going to be giving it around 200 characters. So we can create a string of 200 characters. For adding the title, we are going to be removing the primary key from here. So we will do, instead of that, nullable equals false. So this field cannot be null or empty. So we are going to be hitting it nullable false. So I will just copy this, and I will paste the same thing inside here. And the string part also, we want it inside the description. So description will be also in the form of string, and we are going to be setting the description to 500 characters. So we can add a description up to 500 characters, and we will rename this to DESC. And the last one will be the time. So time will be, so for adding the time, I think we need to first of all import some module. So we just need to do, so we have to do from datetime, import datetime. After that, we are going to be, so over here we're going to be changing it to db.datetime. And after that, we are going to be setting the default equals to datetime dot utc now. So it will get the current date, time, and it will store it inside this field, which is the time field. After that, we are going to be creating another function over here. So we are going to be creating a function which is going to be repr. So we'll do underscore underscore repr. So we will just remove this thing from here. So using this function, we are going to be returning some data. So it is going to be, we're going to be using the formatting over here, and we are going to be returning the data that will be the serial number. So we'll do self dot serial number, and we are also going to be returning self dot title. So whenever we call this function, it is going to be returning this data, the serial number and the title of our to-do list. So basically now we are done with our database. So we have created this particular database that contains these fields, which is serial number, title, description, and time. And we have used object-oriented programming to create this particular piece of code. So now let's say I want to create this particular database now. So for creating that, what we can do is, so over here, if we type Python and if we hit enter, so after that, it will open the Python interpreter inside this folder, and in here we will do from app import db, and if we hit enter, so okay, we are getting some error over here. So date time, okay, so I think date time, the T should be capital over here. So if we save this, if we try to run it again, now you can see it has imported that thing. So now if we do db dot create underscore all, and it's going to be a function, and if we add that thing, if we hit enter, so you can see we are getting this particular error. So let's try to find out an solution for this error. Okay, so to overcome the previous issue, what we can do is from app import db, and we are also going to be importing the app as well. So we will add a comma and add app over here, and we will hit enter. So it will import both the db as well as the app. After that, we are going to be providing a command that will be app underscore context dot push. So I will just add this command over here that says app underscore context dot push. That will resolve our error. So we will hit enter, and after that, if we run our command to create db dot create all, and if we hit enter, now the command should work correctly. And if we go over here, so you can see there is a folder name instance which contains the to-do db. Now we have successfully created our database, but there is no data inside our database. So we are going to be adding some data into our database. So for that, what we will do is we'll just close this, and we're going to be writing some piece of code to add the data into our database. So for adding some data into our database, what we're going to be doing is in our hello function, we are going to be writing some piece of code to add to do into our database that we have created over here. So you can see serial number, title, description, and time. So the time and the serial number are going to be given by default. So we just need to pass two data that will be title and description of our to do. So we are going to be creating a variable named to do that will be equals to, and we will do to do, which is this class that we have created for the database, and inside this we are going to be passing two data that will be the title. So we will do title, a title that will be equals to, and in here we will do first to do, and we are going to be adding the second data that will be the description by adding a comma here, and we will do DESC, that will be the description of this to do, and we're going to be adding testing post to do, and after that, the next line, what we need to do is we need to create a session with our database. So for that, we will do db dot session dot add. So for adding new data, we need to call this function that is add, and we just need to pass the to do inside this that we have created over here. We are passing this particular variable, and after that we need to do db dot session dot commit. So it will make the changes in the database and it will commit the changes that we have added over here. So after this, we just need to save this code and we just need to run our web server. And after running the web server, we will just open our website. And in the output screen, you can see there is an error that we're getting. It says no such table, that is to do. Insert into to do time variable. Okay, testing time is given. Okay, it is showing that there is no such table. So we have already created a table over here. As far as I can see, there is a table name to do. Okay, so to solve that particular error, what I did is I stopped my server from running and I just refreshed the page. And after stopping the server and refreshing the page, now this is the output that we get. Now our web app is visible and there are no errors over here. So after that, if we just go inside our folder, so if we just try to find over here, you can see inside our folder we have a to do database that is it has created inside a instance folder. So here is the database that it has created, and what we can do is we can just try to see the data that it has stored inside this database by just searching for SQLite viewer. And after that, we will get this first result. We'll just click on this and we are going to be dragging our database and dropping it over here, and you can see here is the data that it has collected from our database. Okay, so you can see here is the data that it has generated for us. So if we just refresh the page more times, it will add more data into our database. If we go back, go in here, and if we add the database, now you can see it has added these many fields into our database now. So this is how we can just check what data is available into our SQL database. Now after that, we will just close this thing from here and we are going to be going back, and you can see here is how our app is running right now. So I will just close this thing from here and we're going to be now trying to add the data into our to-do list app by just sending it through our HTML code that we have written. So we are going to be using these two fields to take the data, and after clicking on submit, it should show the data over here. So let's try to add that now. So the data that it is showing on the SQLite table is from here that we have added. The data is to do and the list app. So we have added this data over here and it is fetching it and showing it into our database. Okay, so after that, we will just try to use our REPR function and try to fetch the data from our database using our website. So for that, what we can do is we can just replace this thing to show, and after that, in here we're going to be adding few lines of code to display the data into our terminal. So for that, what we can do is instead of this, we will just try to add something. This is to return the data from database, and after that we will just remove this thing and we are going to be replacing this name of the function to show, and we are going to be adding few lines of code over here. So we will do all to do that will be equals to do dot query dot all, and after that we are going to be printing out this particular data that is stored inside this variable, that is all to do. So after adding this, if we save our code and if we try to go to our website, and over here if I add /show and if we hit enter, so let's see what output we are getting. To do dot query dot all. Okay, it is showing that to do has no attribute query. Okay, I have misspelled query over here. So if I just correct the spelling of query over here, and if we go back and try to refresh the page, Now you can see it is returning. This is to return the data from the database, and you can see the data over here inside this terminal that we have opened, and it is returning the data, and it is returning it in the format that we have added over here in this function. So you can see it is returning the serial number as well as the data or the title that it contains. So this is the data that we get as an output. So after that, we will just try to fetch the data of this to do and try to show it in this table. So for that, what we can do is we can just come over here. We will just close this thing, and we're going to be copying this command that is to show all the data or the query, and we will add it over here. And after that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be returning this to do as well inside our index.html file. So we will just do all to do, and we are going to be returning this to our HTML file. After that, what we are going to be doing is inside our HTML file, we will just try to edit some data over here. So let me just try to find out where is this thing. So we are going to be removing this part. That will be the random data that it has generated. So I will just remove this part from here, and over here we are going to be using Jinja templating. So for that, what I will do is, first of all, we will just try to save this and try to see what is the current output. Okay, so it is printing out the first row. So here we are going to be making some changes. So first of all, we are going to be using the Jinja templating. So I will just add this format over here, and we are going to be first of all running a for loop. Instead of this, we are going to be running a for loop over here. We are going to be adding double percentage, and in here we will do for to do in all to do. So let's check. We are passing this variable, and we are just going through this variable which is all to do, and we are checking for each and every value. The first one will be the to do dot title. We are going to be adding double quotes, and in here we will do to do dot title, and the second value will be to do dot desc. So that are going to be adding time as well. So we will do to do dot, and we will just check what is the name, and it is time. We will add time, and after adding this, we are going to be ending our for as well. So I think we have this extra er over here, and we are going to be closing the for over here in this line. So to do double percentage, and in here we will do and for. So this is the basically the format for Jinja templating, and we have using the Jinja templating engine to like fetch the data from our app and display it onto our website. So after this, if we save the code and if we go to our website and if we just try to refresh it, so we should see some data. Okay, it is not displaying anything. Let me just check if there is any issue with this thing. Okay, see what is the issue over here. So it is all to do we are passing it over here. Okay, so over here we just need to do all to do is equals to all to do, and after adding this, we go to our website. Now if we refresh this, so you can see here is the data that we are getting, and over here you can see that the serial number, to do, title, description, and time is also being displayed, and we are getting the appropriate output as we wanted. So here is the output that we are getting. Once we are done with this, we will just try to go back, and we are going to be getting into our file. Right now you can see that the serial number is 1 for all these to do items. So we can just change it by just adding to do dot serial number, and after adding this, We just save the code. We go back to our server. We will refresh it, and it should display the numbers. Okay. Let me just check what is okay, SNO. And if we save the code, now if we go back, refresh the page, now you can see the numbers are in sequence now, 1 2 3 4 5 6 and up to 20. Okay, so we are done with our displaying of the items that we have added into our to-do list app. So we are able to like add items into our to-do list and also display them. So we have completed the two main features of CRUD operation. So we are able to create and also we are able to fetch the data from our database. So now let's try to add some more functionality into it. Okay, so also there is an issue that if we delete any of the data from here, so we are also going to be adding the update and delete functionality. So after adding that, if we delete a particular data from index, so it will disturb the sequence of the serial number. So this is coming from our database. So if we delete the item at the fourth index, so it will look like 1 2 3 and 5. So to overcome this, what we can do is we can replace this to do to instead of serial number, we're going to be passing the index of the for loop. So it will be returning the data into a sequence. So the series will be not disturbed. So if we just try to refresh this, okay, we are not getting any output. Let me just check. Okay, so it should be loop index instead of to do, it will be loop index. And if we save the code now, if we just go back and try to refresh the page, now you can see this is giving us the proper output. So if we now delete the fifth index item, so in that case also it will just show us the serial number in proper order. So now after adding that, we are going to be just trying to make our form working and take the input from the user through the form. So let's try adding that. Okay, so in our form, we are going to be just adding some data over here. So first of all, we need to pass the name for this input fields. So we are taking an input. The ID is title, as well as we just need to pass the name that will be also equals to title. And we just need to do the same for the description as well. So we just need to pass the name and it will be EESC. And after adding this, what we can do is we can just add a few lines of code over here. So we just need to add an action in the form and it will be slash, and we also need to add the method that will be post. After this, we also need to make some changes into our app. So in our app, what we need to do is we just need to go over here where we have our into our default route, and we just need to add a comma over here, and we will do method and we are going to be allowing two methods that will be equals to the methods. The first one will be get in capital and also the post method. After adding these two things, it will be in single quotes. Okay, after adding this, what we can do is we can just check if request, okay, we have not imported I think request, so we also need to add a comma over here and we can import request, which is available in Flask itself, and we are good to go using this request. So we will do request dot method is equals to post. In that case, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be printing out that it is working. And we just try to save this thing, and if we go to our server, try to refresh this thing, and if we add some data and click on submit, so let's see if we are getting any output. So in the output, you can see that it is printing out that it is working. So now we can also fetch the title as well as description from here. So if we do something like request dot form, and we are going to be fetching the title from here. So what we can do is we can just add brackets over here, and in single quotes loop title. And if we save this, and if we go to our website, if we add something, and if we click on submit, so let's see if we are getting the data. So you can see here is the data that we have added into our form, and we are able to fetch that data using this piece of code. So similarly, you can also try to print out the description as well. So I do ESC. If we save the code, now if we go back, add some random data, and if we submit, so over here you can see both the data are being returned to our code over here, and we are able to fetch that data. So now we are able to fetch the title as well as description, and we are able to pass it into our backend. So after that, we can do one thing is that we just need to remove this print from here, and we are going to be storing this data inside a variable that we are going to be naming as to-do title underscore title, that will be equals to request dot form dot title, and we are going to be naming the second variable as DESC underscore to do, that will be equals to request dot form dot DESC. After that, what we can do is we can just write the code to fetch the data. Also, we are going to be data that will be equals to do, and in here we're going to be providing the title for the to do, that will be equals to do title, and the second one will be DESC that will be equals to DESC underscore to do. So we are now passing these two data into a variable that is data, and we are going to be storing it inside our database. So we will do db.session.add, and we're going to be passing the data inside this, and the second line we're going to be doing db.session.commit. So after this, it will be able to fetch the data from our form and store it inside our database, and you can see we are also displaying the data. So once we are done with this, we will just try to save the code, and we will go into our app, and if we just try to refresh the page, so you will be able to see that right now there is data inside our to-do list app which contains all this data. So let me just try to do first to do create Flask app, and if we just try to submit it, now if we scroll down, you can see that here is the data that it has added into a to-do list, with first to do as the title. There is the serial number as 21, the description as well to create the Flask app, and the time span is also being saved inside our database. So now you can see here is the data output that we get, and here is how we can add a number of to do tasks. So we'll do second to do task, write a Python code for addition of two numbers. Okay. We just need to do this, and if we submit it, now you can see here is the to do task that it has stored inside our database, and we are able to see the data in real time, and we are now able to submit the data through our submission form that we have created over here, and we are successfully able to add the data inside our database and also fetch the data from our database. Now after that, we are going to be adding a functionality to update the data as well as delete the data from our database. So let's move forward and try to add these two functionalities now. Okay, so after this, we are going to be adding two buttons over here. So the first one will be to update this table, and the second one will be to delete the to do task. So for that, we are going to be opening the Bootstrap website. So do Bootstrap, and that we will click on get started. Over here, we will just try to find buttons. So here we will just click on buttons, and over here we can just copy any of the button from here. So I want the button to be this one. So just copy this, and we are going to be going in our VS Code, and we're going to be adding the buttons over here. So what we will do is we will scroll down in our HTML file, and we will just find out where we are just printing out the outputs. And in here, we're going to be creating another 3D, and going to be closing this, and we're going to be creating a button in here. Just try to paste this thing over here, and we are going to be naming this button as date. And similarly, we want another button that will be to delete. After that, we will just save the code. We'll go back into our website, try to refresh this, and you guys can see here is the button for update as well as delete. So now we have added these buttons. We just need to add the functionalities as well to these buttons. So after this, what we can do is we also can change the color for these buttons as well. So for delete, let's add this thing over here. So I will just try to copy this, and we are going to be just changing this class from here to danger, and similarly we will just copy the success one for updating our data. So I will just try to add it right here, and if we save the code, we go back over here, if we refresh the page, now you can see the update button is in showing green and delete button is red. So the user will now understand that if we click on update, it will update the data as well as it will show a danger on the delete button. So after adding this, what we can do is we can just change this thing. So what I will do is I will add a tag over here, and we will do href, and we are going to be doing update for this one slash, and we are going to be passing the serial number with this. So the serial number will be todo .sno, and similarly we are going to be doing the same with the delete as well, and we're going to be calling a function that will be delete. So do delete. So after this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating some endpoints for this in our app. So over here, what we will do is we'll just we don't want the show, so we're going to be replacing it with delete. First, we will add the delete functionality over here. So delete. So that we're going to be writing some piece of code in here. So after this, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be adding another slash over here, and we are going to be getting an integer value from our front end or our database that will be the serial number of this to-do list. So we are just going to be passing the integer value of it as well, and we're going to be passing it in here. We will do SNO inside this delete function, and after that, what we will do is we'll just try to remove this all from here. We will do todo equals to todo dot query dot all. Instead of all, we are going to be doing here filter by underscore by, and inside this brackets we are going to be providing serial number that will be equals to serial number, and we will do dot first, and this will be also a function call. So over here you can see we are creating a to do that will be equals to todo dot query dot filter by, and we are passing the serial number that we are getting from our front end. So we are just clicking on this delete button, and it will also return the serial number of that particular to-do list item, and after sending this serial number, we are just trying to delete it, which will be the first item inside that serial number. So after this, we just need to write db dot session dot delete, and we are just going to be passing to do, and after that we are going to be doing db dot session dot commit. So it will make the changes. After this, if we just try to save the code and we go to our website and try to refresh the page, now if I click on delete, so let's see it is working or not. Okay, I think it's not working for some reason. We'll just try to refresh the page again. We click on delete. Okay, not working at all. Let me just try to see what is the issue over here. Okay, so I forgot to remove this button from here, so I just need to remove this. And if we just try to save the code again, and if we go to our server, try to refresh the page now, and if we click on this delete now, so okay, it is showing this is to return the data from database. Now I think it is able to delete this data, so I think we have now 27 data. If we just click on delete, we go back, what is the output right now? If we refresh the page, now you can see the items are being deleted from our database. So if I just delete few more items, so I just click on data delete button, and if we just try to refresh the page now, so you will be able to see that it is able to delete the data from our database. And now we have only 22 items. Previously we were having 27 items. So we are successfully able to delete the data from our database with the help of this delete function. So I think sometimes it is not working, so we will try to solve that part as well. So let me just try to delete all these random data that we have added. If we just try to refresh this page now, so you can see we only have 16 data now, and we'll just try to delete all the data. And if we refresh the page, now you can see we have only this much data available. And if we refresh the page now, okay, so you can see here is the output that we are getting. But you can see while we are deleting this, we are getting on this another page that we don't want to redirect the user. We want it to like refresh the page, which is the app page, and show us the output in real time. So for that, what we can do is we can just import another library from Flask that is called redirect. We'll do redirect, and over here what we will do is we'll just try to remove this thing from here, and we're going to be calling the redirect function, and inside this we're going to be redirecting the user to the slash. And after this we just go back, try to refresh the page, and now if I just click on delete, so you can see it is deleting the data in real time, and we are also getting the output in real time as well. So this is how we can get the data. And now right now you can see there are no data inside our to-do list app. And if we just try to add some data over here, so if I just do some random data, and if we just hit on submit, you can see here is the output that we get. So we can just click on delete, and it will remove this item. But if there is no data inside our to-do list app, in that case we just want to show the user message that there is no data inside our to-do list app. So for adding that, what we can do is we can just make some changes into our HTML file. So here are going to be, so right here what we will do is we will add an if condition inside this. So for that we will do double percentage symbol, and we are going to be doing if all to do, we are going to be adding the pipe symbol, and we're going to be providing the length. After this we will do double equals to 0. In that case we are going to be printing no to do tasks, and we are going to be adding an else as well for this if and else statement. After that we're going to be ending this, so we just need to add double percentage symbol and if And also we just need to make some changes over here. So just try to select this part and we'll bring it over here. After the submit button, we just try to save the code now, and we go back into our to-do list app. If we refresh this, so you can see no to-do task. Okay, what is the issue over here? It is also printing out the table as well, so we don't want a table, and we just need to add this thing after this. We now save the code and go back, refresh the page. Now you can see no to-do task. We will just try to add it in proper format. We are just going to be moving this thing inside this container, and if we save the code now, and if we go back, and if we just try to refresh this thing, now you can see no to do task. And we can also add the tag over here, your to do's. And if we save this thing, and if we go back, if we just try to refresh the page, so right now you can see there are no to do tasks. And if I add some to do task over here, so it should remove this no to do task from here. So your to do's are this. So if I just click on delete, so it will again show us the no to do's task available. So we are now able to show the user a proper output that shows that if there is no to do's, it will display no to do task, and if there is any to do task in the table, then only it will show us the table in the output. Okay, so on our website you can see that there is no gap in between these two buttons that we have added for update and delete. So we just need to make a small change over here in our code to add some space in between. So right here we have the code for the button, and we have added the required details over here. So after this we are going to be adding a space, and we will do button btn hyphen sm, and we are going to be giving it mx, that will be 1. And similarly we will do the same for the delete button as well. So we just add this thing, we'll just save the code. If we go back to our website, we refresh our page, so you will be able to see that now there is a small space in between these two buttons, as well as the buttons are looking far better than the previous ones. So we will just delete this data from here, and now you can see there is no to-do list or to-do task inside our to-do list app. After that, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be creating another page for updating our data. So right here you can see that if we want to add some data, so I add some random data, and after that if I click on update, so you can see there is no URL available over here. So we need to create a function or a route for that as well to update. So whenever we click on this update, it should open a new page and give us the title for this data as well as the description. So we will be able to update the title as well as the description of this particular to do. So we are going to be redirecting to the user on a new page where we are going to be doing the modification. So for this, first of all, we need to create a new page. So the navigation bar on our website will be common for all the pages on our website. For this, what we can do is we can do template inheritance, and we can create a base template from which we can inherit the properties or the code. So for that, what we can do is we can just create another template over here, and you can use the Ginger templating for this. So inside this folder, which is the templates, we're going to be creating a new file, and we're going to be naming it as base.html. And in here we're going to be writing some code that will be the navbar code. So let me just try to find out the code for the navbar. So after this, what we're going to be doing is inside the base.html file, we're going to be copying the common code that we are going to be adding. So right here you can see the header, the entire header part. We are going to be adding it inside this file. So what I need to do is we are going to be copying this entire head from here or we are going to be removing it from this file, which is the index.html, and we have the body as well. So we are going to be copying the header of our website from here. So the header is right here. So this is the code for the header, and it's still here. So I will just try to remove this from here, and so that we are going to be getting inside our base.html, and inside that we are going to be adding this part. So this we also need to take the body as well. So we're going to be removing the body, adding it over here, and we are going to be closing the body at the last. Over here we're going to be closing the body. After this we are going to be adding a block over here. So over here we're going to be using the gender templating. So we'll add double percentage, and in here we're going to be creating a block. So we'll do block, and the name of the block will be body. And after that we are going to be closing this block as well. So I will just copy this and do end block. For this we are going to be adding a small bit of space in here, and after this we're going to be just copying this thing, and we are also going to be adding it in our index.html file. So we're going to be just removing this from here, the end of this body, and we're going to be adding it right here. So we are just going to be removing this part from here, and we're going to be adding it here instead. And I think we are missing out some things over here. That will be closing the nav bar. Okay, nav. I think we just need to add the nav over here, body after that, and at last we're going to be adding /html, and we are good to go. And over here we have added this particular piece of code to display this form as well as the table. So this is the current output that we have, or the code we have, and we have added this entire container inside the block body, and we have added the end block as well at the last. And similarly we have done the same over here, but we have added the nav bar in our base.html, because the nav bar will be common for all the pages on our website. For this we are going to be adding a piece of line over here that will help us to extend from the base.html. So over here we are going to be using the ginger templating again. We're going to be extending. We will do extend. We're going to be adding single quotes. We'll do base dot html. After this we are going to be adding a small space over here. If we save our code, and now if we try to visit our website, and if we just try to refresh it, so after this if we just try to refresh our page, we will get this output. So over here you can see that it is taking the input from the base.html. So the header is coming from our base.html, which is this one, and we are just changing the data which is inside the body, which is the submission form as well as the table. So we are just adding these two things over there. And after this what we are going to be doing is we are going to be creating another page for updating the to-do list description as well as the title. So for this we're going to be creating a new file, and we're going to be naming it update.html, and we will hit enter, and we're going to be just copying the code from here that we just want to change. So we only want the code that is for the form. So we're going to be just copying this part which is for the form, and we are going to be doing this entire thing, copying it, pasting it over here. And you can see we are extending the base.html. We have added the block body, and we're going to be just closing the block as well. So if we just add an end block over here, and after that we're going to be just changing few things over here. That will be the submit button. Instead of submit, we're going to be naming it as update, and after that we are going to be keeping other things to the default. and we are just going to be adding a header as page update page, and after that we're going to be just saving this piece of code. After that, we can also change the name of the page as well. So for changing the title of the page, so over here, if I just go to our website and show you the title, so the title is to-do list app over here. So what we can do is we can even change the title. So we just need to go to the base.html, and over here where we have this title, we're going to be making a change. So what we can do is we can just add a Jinja templating over here. So what I will do is just do percentage, double percentage, and here I will do block title, and we're going to be using the same format, and we're going to be closing the block as well. So we are going to be closing the block, and I will add a slash over here, and inside this we are going to be doing end block. I will add a space over here, and I will just try to copy this. So after this, what we are doing is basically we are assigning the name of the page. So we are doing to-do list app, and in front of this we are going to be adding the name of the page. So in the index.html we're going to be doing block title and end block title, and in here we're going to be providing the name of the page, that will be home for this one. And this we're going to be saving this, and also we're going to be adding the name of the page over here as well. So we're going to be naming it as update. If I just try to refresh, okay, it's not working, I think. So what I will do is, instead of this, I'll just try to remove this title from here, and similarly we'll make changes in all the blocks. And here as well I will just try to remove this title. We just try to save it. Now if we go back, try to refresh the page, now you can see we are getting the appropriate output as home to-do list app. Now this thing is working. So I have just removed the title from the end block, so we are directly ending this block over here, and we are able to replace the data or the title of the page with the help of this block that we have created. So I think you got a clear idea of how you can add different names to this pages. So once we are done with this, we are going to be moving into our app.py and creating the route for updating the data, and we're going to be using the update.html page to update the data. So for creating a route, what I will do is I will just try to copy this thing from here, and we're going to be creating another function, and this will be the update function. So in the update as well, we're going to be passing serial number of the data, and I will just name this as update. After this, we are going to be doing to do equals to do dot query dot filter by serial number is equals to first. So we are just going to be copying this entire line from here, and we're going to be doing return a render template, and we're going to be rendering the template, which is the update.html. So we'll provide update.html, and we're going to be separating it with a comma, and we will do to do is equals to do. And once we are done with this, we will go inside our update.html. We can just save the code, and if we go to our website, and if we just try to refresh the page, add some random data, and if we submit it, you can see we are getting the output. If I just click on update, now it will take us to the update page. You can see here is the update page that it has redirected us to. So now you can see it is not looking good at all, this update page. So we will just try to change the header first. So what I will do is I will just try to minimize this thing, and inside our update.html page, adding this thing inside the container, as well as we're going to be setting it to h2. And if we save the code and go back to our website, and after that if we just try to refresh this page, now you can see it is looking far better than the previous one. And similarly we're going to be adding another tag like this. So we'll be adding it over here. Here we do to do list. If I just try to save the code, and if we go back to the website, we go here, If we just try to refresh this, now you can see to-do list. So it is looking far better. Now if I just click on the update, and you can see here is the data. So if we add something, so it is being added over here. But instead of this, what we want to do is we want to update the data that is already present over here. So I want to update this data that we have added over here. So if I click on update, so it should fetch the data directly and add it over here, and we can update it, and automatically it will just make changes to that instead of adding a new data. So for that, what we can do is, it's quite simple to add that. So in our VS Code, we will just go over here, and in our update page, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be also providing the value over here. So we have this name, and inside our title, we're going to be providing the value. So we're going to be doing value. Value will be equals to, we're going to be using the Jinja templating. So we'll just add this kind of brackets, and inside this, we're going to be doing to do dot title. And similarly, we're going to be adding for the description as well. I will do DESC. And after adding this, if we just try to save the code, go back to our website, if we just try to refresh it, and if I add a to do, that will be first, I will do a spelling mistake over here. First to do, create a Flask app, and I will add some data. And if we hit enter, so you can see, so here is the to do that it has created for us. I will just delete the previous one, and you can see we have a title with first to do, and the spelling is wrong over here, and the description contains create Flask app 23. So I want to just update this data. If I just click on update, now you can see we are getting an option to update this data. So I will just try to correct the spelling over here, and I will just remove this 23. And after that, if we just click on update, now you can see that it has updated the data, but we have another output as well. Okay, so this error is coming because we have not completed our update function. So we just need to go back over here, and we need to complete our update function. We have only added this particular piece of code, but we also need to do an updation on our data. So for updating the data, what we need to do is we just need to add an if over here. So we will do if request dot method equals to post, and also we need to add this piece of code in here as well for the update. And after that, we are going to be performing some operation. So we are going to be performing the same operation that we have done over here, but we just need to make some changes. I will just copy this data from here, add it inside this if statement, and we'll just try to format things. And over here we are passing the data, and after that we are just going to be copying this part, adding it over here. After that, in the next line, we will do data dot title is equals to do title. Just copy this, add it over here, and similarly we'll do data dot DESC is equals to DESC to do. And after this, we will just try to save the code. And after that, what I need to do is we just need to do return redirect to the home page. So after this, if we just try to save the code, and if we go back to our website, and if I just try to refresh the page now, so okay, I will be just deleting this data, and we will just try to click on update, and we're going to be updating this data. So I will just add first, and I will just remove 23 from here, and if I just click on update, so still it is creating a data. I just need to check. So to solve this issue, what we need to do is we just need to change this thing to update, and we will add a slash, and we're going to be passing the serial number over here. So we will do to do dot serial number SNO, and if I just try to save this, and if we go back to our code, if I just try to delete this one, And if I just try to refresh the page, now if I just click on update, now we will just try to remove this data, and I will just correct the spelling. If I just try to save this and click on update, now you can see it is updating the data in real time. So if you add something and if you forgot to add more description about it, or you misspelled something, you can now update these things. So I will do to do for today, create a Flask app using VS Code. If I just click on update, now you can see it is updating the data in real time. I will do create a website. Okay, I have misspelled something, and I will do use Flask, and I have misspelled both the things, and we have added it into our to-do list. After this, what we can do is we can just click on update to create a website using Flask. So I just need to correct the spelling over here. It also correct the spelling for the Flask, and we can just click on update, and now the things are updating in real time. We can also delete them, and it will show no to-do tasks available. So this is how we can create a to-do list app. We have added different functionalities such as adding the title, description. We have also seen how to do different code operations such as create, update, delete, and we are successfully able to create this to-do list app. So I hope you really enjoyed this particular project of creating a to-do list app using Flask. So I think that was it for this lesson.